Hey, how's it going? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and today I'm going to show you how to use the UAD Capital Chambers reverb plugin. Now, this reverb plugin is modeled on the actual chambers located 30 feet below ground underneath the parking lot at Capitol Studios in LA. And you've no doubt heard the sound of these chambers because they've been used on countless hit records over the last 50 years, and I'm personally super excited to finally be able to use these magical spaces on my own mixes. So today I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks, as well as some examples that showcase the power and the beauty of this plugin. Let's get started.
At least that's how the story goes.
So for this first example, and probably the best way to really hear a reverb plugin, I'm going to pull up a lead vocal track. But this isn't any ordinary lead vocal track. This is Jamie Liddell singing the song A Rose, which he wrote and recorded specifically to help us showcase the Capitol Chambers reverb plugin. And before we get started playing around with reverbs, let's hear what that vocal sounds like just dry on its own.
There was a rose. At least that's how the story goes.
So that's a very soft, delicate, intimate sounding vocal. And by adding some chamber to it, I want to create a sense of space and lusciousness around it. So I'm going to set up the Capitol Chambers plugin on an effects return, send my vocal into it, and then a great place to start is just by browsing the artist presets. You'll notice there's no shortage of amazing sounding presets, but I got to go with Al Schmidt. He knows those chambers better than anybody else, and his preset is simply entitled The One. Let's check that out.
There was a rose. At least that's how the story goes.
So that's what a chamber should sound like, and most importantly, what it should feel like. It gives this big, lush sense of space around the vocal. But the nice thing about using the Capitol Chambers as a plugin is that you're not just locked into one sound. In fact, you can actually change out the microphone models inside the room. So I can go from a Shure SM80, small diaphragm pencil condenser, to something like a RCA 44, which is a ribbon microphone. Let's hear what that sounds like.
There was a rose. At least that's how the story goes.
So everything else is staying the same, the decay time, the sense of the room, but now it's got a different response to what you're getting back. And this becomes even more obvious when you change it to something like the 21D. Check it out.
There was a rose.
And just as a reminder, here's what it sounded like with the SM80.
There was a rose.
Can you hear how it has just a brighter response to it with the SM80 as opposed to the 44, which is a ribbon microphone? And not only can you change the microphones around, but you can actually quickly jump between different chambers. Now in real life, this actually involves opening up a whole control panel, changing the patches around, making sure that nobody else is using the chamber that you want. But since we're in the plugin world, it's as easy as clicking a button. So let's hear what chamber 2 sounds like using the SM80 microphones. So now one thing that you're going to notice is whenever you're changing rooms or changing microphones, the top of the Capitol Chambers icon will start blinking. This means that it's loading the algorithm in the background. And once that light goes away, then it's ready to use.
There was a rose. At least that's how the story goes.
So you can hear each chamber has its own unique character and tone to it. And you can get lost for days just trying out different room and mic combinations. But there's so much more to this plugin has to offer. So for this next example, I'm going to pull up the guitar track. And instead of using it in a send and return scenario, I'm going to insert the chambers right on the subgroup and see what it sounds like fully wet. Let's take a listen to what these guitars sound like with no effects. Sounds like a bone-dry guitar, right? Well, let's add the Capitol Chambers to it, and let's go with chamber number 6, and I want to hear what the 21D microphone sounds like. We'll let the door close, and let's take a listen to what this sounds like. Sounds sounds like we put the guitar down and then the back of the chamber, right? Well, the cool thing about the capital chambers is you're not stuck with one mic position inside the chamber. There's a little slider here that allows you to move the microphones closer to the speakers. And by doing so, you're going to add back a lot of that presence while still retaining the sense of space around you. Let's hear what that sounds like on the minimum setting. This is with the mics as close to the speakers as possible. There's a huge difference, right? All of a sudden we've added all this presence back to the reverb signal. And keep in mind, this is still on wet solo, so this is nothing but the affected signal. If I come down here, turn off wet solo, and then dial in the mix knob, I can get a perfect balance of this presence, space, and also some of the dry signal. Let's hear what that sounds like. So now we're hitting that balance between the dry signal and the wet signal. But the great thing about the capital chambers is it doesn't just end there. There's also a decay knob that allows you to shorten the overall reverb length, kind of tightening up the sound even further. Let's see what that sounds like. So as you heard, when I brought that decay down, it feels like the clouds just disappeared, right? All of a sudden, the space in between the notes wasn't completely filled, but you still got this sense of space around the guitar. There's one more thing I can tweak to kind of add back a little bit more of that separation between my guitar and the space that my guitar is living in, and that's the pre-delay knob. Let's see what that sounds like. So as you can hear, as I increase the pre-delay, there's now some more separation between the guitar and the room that it's living in. And the longer that that gets, the more separation there is. So for this final example, and arguably the best way to really learn the sound and controls of a reverb plugin, I'm going to pull in a drum loop. Now, since drums have a full range of frequencies and tons of transients, it makes it really easy to understand what the capital chambers is doing to a sound. Let's take a listen to the drum loop, just dry. So now let's send that drum loop into chamber number 2 and take a listen. So in all the previous examples, we focused on the chambers, the microphones, the placement of the microphones in the room, the decay control. But at the bottom half of this plugin, you're going to find some super useful tone controls. These really let you tailor the sound of that reverb. Let's check it out. So as the drums were playing back, I went band by band and pushed the frequencies up and down to really get a sense of what each was adding or taking away from the sound. The bass knob obviously just exaggerated the effect of the kick in the room. The mid was really helping me control the snare. I could exaggerate it or I could almost remove it from the reverb. And then with the top end, I was able to just get a lot of that sheen kind of bouncing around the room. And that low cut, along with the bass knob, were really helping me tailor that low end, truly customizing the sound of my reverb return. So as you heard, the capital chambers add this huge, big, beautiful sense of space and dimension and, frankly, magic to your mixes, along with giving you control over the sounds in ways that are literally impossible to do in real life. So if you already own UAD hardware or a UA audio interface, you can actually demo this plugin today for free for 14 days. And I suggest that you just browse through the artist presets, play around with it, and really customize the sound to fit perfectly in the mix that you're working on. And if you want to learn more about this plugin or any other UA hardware, head to uaudio.com, and I'll see you guys next time.
There in a dream, nothing was the way it seemed. Together in space, when I could still caress your face.